Hi there, it's me again, Jack Wallen. I apologize. It's been a while. It's been roughly 2 weeks since I've filmed a video for my YouTube channel. There's a good reason for that, and I'm going to share that reason with you. Now, first, before I share that reason with you, it's been a bit of a rough couple of weeks, but that's kind of to be expected. We're coming up on an absolutely existential level election, and it's been stressful, to say the least. But I'm not going to get into that because I'm not going to talk politics here, because that's a whole nother can of snakes. So here's the deal. This is what has kept me from being here for you and with you. A local theater decided that they had scheduled this quite a while ago, but they were producing a staged version of Night of the Living Dead. Yay! And the artistic director had learned about my filming, and we had several discussions. Actually, he's the artistic director of the theater that is going to take on me and my muse. So he knew that I had the equipment and I had the ability to film. So he decided, or he asked me if I would be interested in filming certain scenes for the production that would be displayed on screens on the stage. Sounds familiar, right? Should, because that's kind of what's going to happen with me and my muse to a greater degree. I said yes, of course. Of course I would do it. Why not? You know, partially in return for him allowing me to use his theater for my production. And the other reason is I have great respect for that theater because I was a member of the rep company there for 10 years. So loved that theater, loved the people there. I loved my experience with them. So of course, let's do this, right? Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Right? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Right? Uh-huh. Okay. So, as you can expect, it didn't go exactly as planned. The end result was wonderful. They loved it. Audiences love it. It opened last night. I was very proud of what we did. The first scene we filmed was really simple. It's one person, straight on, static camera, blah, blah, blah. The second the scene we filmed, however, was rather complicated. It took place in a cemetery, and there were three people. There were Barbara, her brother, and a zombie. On paper, it sounds really simple. Of course. I decided that in my infinite wisdom, I wanted to do the scene in a single take. And the assistant director, who was directing the filmed scenes, agreed with me that that would be really cool. So we met a day before we were going to film it, and we blocked it out without the actors, but we knew what we were going to do. And then the big day came. Showed up with all of my equipment, set it all up, got everything ready, and mic'd the actors with my Sony wireless mics, which I'm using right now to film this. I have two of them. They've performed for me quite well. Hint, hint. And did the first take, went well. Did the second take, went well. Did the third take, went well. I think we ultimately did 5 takes just to be safe. But then I decided I better check sound, because it was just me. I didn't have a crew with me. It was just me. So I checked the sound, and lo and behold, it was crap. The reason it was crap is because something around that cemetery was interfering with the mics. Could have been a cell tower, could have been anything, could have been ghosts. We actually talked about it. Could have been ghosts. Ghosts could have been there saying, no, we don't want this to happen. So, by the time we finished that last take and I discovered the sound was crap, all of a sudden, all these volunteers showed up to mow the cemetery. mow it. There were big mowers, weed whackers everywhere. So we fortunately, I had brought with me my shotgun mic, and I had my little Tascam multi-channel recorder. So we found a place that was quiet and out of the way of the mowers, the weed whackers, and the volunteers, and stood the two actors in front of me, held the mic, and we recorded the audio without them watching the scene we had just filmed. So it wasn't looped, it was just them speaking their lines, acting out their lines with a mic in front of them. And I thought, okay, this will work. Got home, and I copied all the files over, including the audio files, and loaded them all up in DaVinci Resolve, and then I tried to sync the audio and the video. Yeehaw. Needless to say, it didn't sync well all the time. So I had to use all kinds of trickery to make it work. Some cut scenes, some other things. But in the end, after 16 hours of editing a 4-minute clip, I got it. Looked pretty good, sounded pretty good. Actually, it looked great. Sounded pretty good. And it worked. And of course, there was another scene. There were two newscasters. It was really awesome because we had a local newscaster, Dawn G. She's wonderful. And another local celebrity, Heather French Henry, who was a Miss America, I think. Another lovely person. Both of them. Fantastic, lovely people. They couldn't... The scene was an interview between a newscaster and a scientist. They could not be together at the same time at the same place because of scheduling conflicts. So we thought, okay, well, we'll just film them separately and it'll be fine. Famous last words. So we filmed Heather French Henry doing her thing, and we had someone reading the other lines for her. And then when we filmed Dawn G, we had the same person reading Heather's lines for her. Well, they didn't quite match up. So I had to do some more trickery to get this timing right. Used a little static, because this was supposed to be displayed on a television, an old television from the 50s, so the rabbit ears were, they blah, blah, blah. But in the end, it worked. And then like the day before the opening, I get a message saying, "Oh, we forgot to film another spot. It's a DJ in a radio booth. Do you have time?" I'm like, I don't. I'm out of time. I'm so busy today. I can't do it. And they're like, "Oh, okay. We'll figure something out. We'll film it. We'll just film it ourselves." And that didn't sit well with me because I wanted everything to look. I wanted there to be continuity. So I said, "Okay, I'll find time. If it's all right with you, I'll find time to film myself at home doing this. You just send me the text." And they said, "Oh, that's awesome. Do it." So they sent me the text, and I filmed it. I had to kind of do with a 50s era costume. And so what I did was I used a hat I have, which is a really cool little hat, and I used my 85mm lens and got really close. So it was just my face and a microphone. So I filmed it and I sent it to them. They said, "That's great. This is awesome. But your earring, we can see your earring." So I had to take out the earring. I had taken out my nose ring and these earrings, but I'd forgotten this one. So I popped this out, put the hat back on, set everything back up, filmed it again, and blammo, sent it off and edited it, sent it off to him, and there we go. I was done. I was finally done with that project. Yay. Here's what I want to say about that, because I always have to have something to say. I'm not just going to drop an anecdote on you and walk away. Mic drop, I'm out. If there's one thing that I have learned over the years because of theater, it's that things will work out. I cannot begin to tell you how many productions I've been in hundreds of stage productions. I cannot begin to tell you how many of them have gone to the wire, gone to final dress rehearsal, and up to that point, nothing had gone smoothly. But here's the thing, and I believe anybody that has ever been involved with theater will tell you the same thing. Theater has a way of coming together. There's some magic involved there. You know, one of the most difficult productions I'm not going to say the name of the production, I'm not going to say the director or anything, but I was involved in a production that was horribly, it was an absolute dreadful experience. We did not get to do a full run of the show until dress rehearsal. And we had maybe 2 full runs before opening. We were scared to death. I was the lead character, and I had a ton of lines. They were difficult period lines. And it was one of the biggest challenges of my acting career because of all of the roadblocks and difficulties and challenges that we had to deal with. But even though we were all inching near panic mode, in the back of our heads we knew, because this was theater, we knew that somehow it will come together. And on final dress, it came together. It was just like, there it is. And that's the thing about theater. There's always that there it is moment. Whether whether it's from in your actor brain or as a director or as a cast as a whole, you know, at some point you're going to have that moment. There it is. And collectively, as a company, with the cast and the crew, the director and the designers and all that, you have faith. You have to have faith, because theater is a very difficult form of art. There are so many moving pieces and so many challenges. And if you lose that faith that it's all going to be okay, it's all going to come together, if you lose that faith, why bother? Why do it? Because there's so much stress involved in live theater. I mean, just think about it from an actor's perspective. You have, especially if you're a leading role, you have maybe 80 to 100 pages of text to memorize. And especially when you get to be my age, that's not easy. Memorization has never been easy for me. I have to go over it countless times. For example, when I did The Mystery of Irma Vep, which is a 2-person show, and it is complicated, I had to get to the point where I could speed through my lines from top to bottom without looking at my script. And if I couldn't do that, I wasn't confident enough that I could pull off the show. And I did that every, not only up to opening, I did that every night before every show, because it was so complicated. It was so hard. But at the same time, even though you know that there's all of these lines you have to memorize and all this blocking you have to memorize, and sometimes there's music and dance and all of this other stuff, even though you know it's all there, each individual part having its own complications, you have faith that it's all going to work out. Because if you don't, it won't. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a dress rehearsal thinking, okay, this is the first dress rehearsal, and it's going to set me back a little bit, because we're adding costumes and all this other stuff into the mix, and we just ran through it and got through it, and now it's like, oh, there's all these other things I've got to deal with. So you know that's going to happen. And then you go into tech rehearsal, and you know there's going to be more setbacks. So it's like you've moved forward, step back, you move forward a little bit more, step back, keep. The idea is just to keep moving forward, and you have faith that you will always be able to keep moving forward until opening night. And that's when everything just comes together, and it is truly a magical thing. To walk into that dressing room or to that stage on opening night and feeling as if the theater gods have blessed you with the ability to do it, to make it happen. So when I had all of these complications with this Night of the Living Dead filming process, I just had to keep telling myself, it's going to work, it's going to happen, it's going to come together. So I was able to jettison any stress that I was feeling simply because I knew. Simply because I have done so much theater for so many years. I just know it's going to come together. It's going to work. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. Now, why am I sharing that with you? Because you may have never experienced live theater on the stage. You may have attended in the audience, but maybe you've never experienced theater from the stage side of the curtain. The reason why I share this with you is because I try very hard to apply that same logic and approach to life. That it's going to work out. And the thing is, I can go back through my history, my personal history, and I can think about all of these times where I have approached something and I felt so much stress and distress and all just that. But then it's always worked out. And I know, and I hesitate to say that because I know that I know people. I have people in my life for whom it didn't always work out. But here's the thing. When I talk to people who are going through such issues, I always tell them, the thing you're dealing with might not work out right now. But you give it time, and you keep going at it, you keep working, you keep improving, and it will work out eventually. So sometimes patience is required. Patience and hope and perseverance and all of those things are required in life in general. Believe me, I have gone through some of the hardest. My childhood was terrible. It was filled with abuse, emotional and physical and mental abuse. And I had to keep telling myself as a child, it's going to get better. Everything's going to be okay. And I weathered the storm. So when I'm faced with a complication, when I'm faced with an obstacle, when I'm faced with something that doesn't seem like it's ever going to work, I just remind myself about theater. And I immediately think, yeah, it's going to work. It's going to be okay. It's going to happen. It's going to come together. It has to. And that's part of it with theater. It has to come together. You've got people that are going to pay to come and see you. You don't have a choice. It has got to come together. And the beautiful thing about theater is that there are multiple people dealing with this production. There's actors and directors and designers and choreographers and musical directors and all stage managers and backstage crew, dressers and all this. And everybody knows they have to do their part, their part to make it happen. And they do that knowing there's a little bit of magic involved. And that little bit of magic is going to be the thing, in conjunction with everybody's hard work, that makes it happen. That makes everything wonderful and beautiful and artistic and magical. And it's if you've never experienced it, it's really hard to convey what it's like. But in the end, just know that it will work out. One way or another, it might take more time than you would like it to, but it will work out. Just keep hope. And keep working. Keep learning. And persevere. And you will see that that kind of magic that I've experienced so many times in theater will be your friend. Anyway, that's all I've got today. Again, I'm sorry that I wasn't here last week or however long it's been, because I feel compelled to be here for you. But I'm back. So there we go. If you know somebody that might benefit from hearing this today, share it with them. Friends, family, whatever. Enemies, I don't care. Just whatever. Anyway, I hope that you and everyone you know and love have a wonderful, wonderful day.